Thanks for checking out a brand new episode of Bad Advice with Chris Cubis, the show where unqualified people give unsolicited advice. This week I'm joined by comedians Kate Willett, Marty DeRosa, and Sarah Shockey. Does your 16-year-old neighbor constantly walk around naked in front of everyone? Or maybe your boyfriend has a 5-year-old gallon of milk in his fridge. This is the episode for you. Check it out. Thanks for checking out a new episode of Bad Advice with Chris Cubis, the show where unqualified people give unsolicited advice. I just got to say some shit I'm happy about. Your boy, after the last episode, I am fully vaccinated. Got my second dose on Thursday. And yeah, the second dose put me on my ass for a day. But if you're nervous, I understand the nerves. I was definitely anxious. I haven't been around people for a year. So there was 100 people at this site and everyone's wearing masks and there's needles and it's nerve wracking. But at the end of the day, man, it's over in 45 minutes. And then it's you got injected with the light at the end of the tunnel and it's kind of fucking beautiful. So if you got your vaccine, if you get an appointment, just get that shit. Understand it's good for everybody. Public service announcement out of the way. We are joined today by 3 of my favorite guests in the world. Up first, Kate Willett. How are you?
I am doing good. I am trying to record this podcast and my cat keeps crawling all over me. So if you hear purring in the background, that's what's going on. It's not me. It is little Pearl. Yeah.
I love it. I think more podcasts should have the comforting sound of cat purrs in them, as opposed to the humming anger of white supremacist alt-right comedians that just sound like ozone going off in the background.
Yes, exactly.
How are you otherwise? How's everything in Brooklyn?
I am having incredible vaccine FOMO because a lot of my friends have now been vaccinated, and I feel like it's going to be I don't know, at least a couple months, maybe 6 weeks till I get vaccinated. So I'm just I'm feeling bummed that the pandemic is I feel like I'm the last person out of the pandemic. I don't know.
Oh, trust me, I understand. I was watching all my I was definitely that dude who was seeing some people getting it and being why is this motherfucker? You look healthy. Why are you so ahead of the line? And then as soon as I got it, I was oh, I totally understand. You don't know what other people are going through. You shouldn't be so judgmental.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel you for sure. Do you have it's a weird thing to be hoping your friend has an underlying medical condition, but are you just an unfortunately healthy person?
Yeah, I am. I just, I don't really have any of the types of medical stuff that would qualify me for the early vaccine. I could qualify in North Carolina because I definitely have smoked at least 100 cigarettes in my life, but yeah, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with me that's on the list, and I am certainly not an essential worker. I can't think of anything less essential than being a comedian. So here we go. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I did see someone try to make the argument online that comedians were essential workers, and I was so embarrassed for that person.
Oh, that's horrible. And they're also the same people that are still doing indoor shows with no masks. Yeah. You know what I mean?
People need to laugh.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just Chappelle. It's literally just Dave Chappelle who's pulling that bullshit. Yeah. Also with us this week, the co-hosts of Marty and Sarah Love Wrestling, the very funny Marty DeRosa and Sarah Shockey are here. How's it going, folks?
Hello, Chris.
So good. So good to talk to a human being that's not a work person and a fun person on a video call during the spring.
It's so nice. The idea that I started this podcast because I didn't have stand up and I needed an creative outlet. At least that's what I was telling myself. And that was a bullshit lie. I basically have this podcast so I can look at other human beings and interact with us in a fun social way as opposed to a work way. So thank you for that. You guys are in Chicago, right?
That is correct.
And how is Chicago treating you?
It's we're getting this little glimpse of the spring and it's amazing out. And these are I'm okay, like Kate was talking about there and you were talking about the FOMO of getting the vaccine and stuff. I'm like, I'll wait, no big deal. We're not in any hurry or whatever. And then a day like this, it's just like, oh, okay, this is why everybody wants it and wants to get out. So
Wants to be outside on a patio somewhere.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
And we're like one summer, spring, fall behind.
Yeah, for sure. Did you just like convert over and do like Zoom comedy, like shows?
No, I didn't do any Zoom shows. Sarah does some Twitch stuff.
Yeah, I go on Twitch with my friends playing through adventure games and just kind of basically doing color commentary and bits over there.
That's awesome. But that seems like a fun, that is what the medium is intended for. So that makes sense to me. It's the Zoom comedy show, like stand up on Zoom.
No, somebody asked me to do one. And I go, oh, I don't know. And they go, well, just watch it. It's awesome. You'll love it. And I watched for like 5 minutes and I just shut my computer and I was like, they were muting. They had to like mute people for being bad. And somebody was like, this guy's funny. I'm like, oh, all the worst stuff from like a bad road gig, but now in my living room.
And they're in their own house. So they're like really confident. And it's like, oh, no.
Yeah, they're super emboldened. I did there was a show. Oh, God damn it. It's going to drive me nuts. Sir, I cannot remember your name. I will plug it when I put this online. There was a comic who had a show that you would do 7 minutes, and it was like 7 minutes in Purgatory, I think.
Ian Abramson.
Thank you very much. And you would just do comedy with like noise canceling headphones in like an empty space. That's what the Zoom show was to me. And I did that show once at a festival and had a full on breakdown. Like 30 seconds into my set, I was like, what is this? I was like questioning what comedy even was in the moment. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and jump into some of these letters. Before we do, real quick, you guys are familiar with the concept of Dear Abby, right? You know who that is?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the advice genre in general.
Me too, Kate.
I've had a couple of people on here that like said like they just had no idea who it was. I think Colt Cabana was on. He had no idea who it was.
that checks out.
And also like but like it doesn't though to me because like you're not a child. Like this was such a prominent thing in the sort of zeitgeist when I was a kid anyway.
If you're a newspaper reader.
I guess. But also, I mean, I understand. I guess.
It's a solid reference, and I remember as a kid reading it and being like, there'd be some that would be like very adult or whatever, and then I remember as a kid being like, well, why that? I wouldn't write in a newspaper all that about me.
It is wild. So like, I guess because I knew what it was when I started, obviously, but then going into the archives, because that's basically what I do is I go into the archives and I pull letters and then we talk about them. The range of the letters, like, so you have like my coworker microwaves fish, how do I address it?
Yep.
And you have my uncle is a child molester. Like it's literally that is the spectrum. It's wild. I don't pick any of the ones that are too serious, by the way. I try to keep this a little silly.
It's just like love line for go ahead, Kate.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like the uncle is a child molester one. We just have to be like, the right answer is for him to stop molesting children. That would be that'd be a really easy letter.
The short, there's not a lot of room for riffing on that.
It's just weird that that's next to a Marmaduke comic, in the newspaper.
Exactly. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into a couple of these letters. Some of them are weird. Some of them I think are cute and we'll have some fun. Let's go with, up first, Dear Abby, I have lived next doors to the Smiths for 18 years. They're nice people. When problems have arisen, they have helped me out, and I have done the same for them. We're good neighbors and friends. I've known the Smiths children their whole lives. Their daughter is now 17. Their son was born a year later. My question is it normal for a 16-year-old boy to walk around the house naked in plain view of family members? No one seems to notice or care. There are no looks or comments. In the morning, he gets up around 6:45. He walks into the kitchen and fixes a bowl of cereal. Then he stands at the corner, watching the morning sports show while eating his breakfast in the nude. There is absolutely no evidence of arousal of any kind. When the bathroom becomes available, he goes in for a shower. I've never seen any of the other family members naked. This boy has no compunctions about being seen by his father, mother, sister, or next-door neighbor. He's been nude in my presence dozens of times. I know it's common for little boys to run around without clothes on sometimes, but Abby, he is not a little boy anymore. Signed, Closed-Minded in Wisconsin. I have a number of questions. not the least of which is, how are you so familiar with this boy's morning routine? Is it a telescope? How are you? Like, you're the neighbor. So how do you know that he wakes up at 6:45, makes himself a bowl of cereal, watches the sports shows?
It's creepy. This letter, you said that there was not going to be like any pedophilia letters, but this feels like a pedophilia letter. Like this person needs to look away.
I'm wondering how this has gone on for dozens of times, and yet at none of those times did someone go, "Wow, you're sure naked still. What's up with that?"
So Sarah's old apartment had a window. Her old apartment building was like across the alley from another apartment building. Both giant windows it was like basically a face off of like, do you want to see us? Because we're not backing down.
They never put their blinds down.
They never
once,
put their blinds
and I lived
down.
there for 9 years, and I was like, we just don't have that window.
And
Like I would try every like 3 years, and they'd be like,
I remember moving in. When I moved in one day, I was all by myself in her living room, and I was like, why is this window always closed? And I opened it and like made eye contact with the guy on a lazy boy who the TV must have been like right under where I was.
like on the window.
Yeah. So I think it's a Wisconsin situation where we got some big windows. She's probably a little nosy, so she's like, "Oh, I have to go get the garbage."
I thought
or
it was
something.
a he.
Or he.
I don't know. That's
Is it
interesting.
No, who wrote the letter? A man or a woman?
Closed-minded.
Don't know.
Oh,
And
closed-minded. I don't think a guy's
Closed-minded
smart enough
means-
to pull that pun off. I think that's a woman.
We have not been gendered in this in the letter, and I do think that is something that pops up on this podcast a lot. People make assumptions about who has written this letter.
Yeah.
I definitely thought a woman wrote this letter.
Me too.
That's just the vibe that I got, but I don't know why. There's really no reason for that. And the more I think about it, and Sarah, you saying that made me question it initially, but the more I think about it, it is written that paragraph of like, he does this at 6:45, then he does this, and he does this. That has some dude energy to it.
I felt dude energy the whole way along.
Kate, what do you think? I
was like picturing like a codependent mom energy, like just like way too up in someone's business. I was gendering it in my head, and I was kind of envisioning the person as being sort of parental or whatever. But now that this is like the idea of dude energy has been brought to mind, it feels like it kind of is like I could see it being like a creepy guy who wrote this.
Like he doesn't have a lot going on in his own life, which is why he's seeing the neighbors so much. Where it's like I'm a little suspicious of like when you're that close just based on proximity.
Maybe he's like Denzel in The Equalizer, and he's just always aware of time. He's like, he's ex-military, and he looks at his watch, and he's like, my man, and he's just like coming down naked for breakfast or
and
whatever.
And he's not aroused. There was no indication of arousal.
Yeah.
That's like the
Yeah.
That is
that sticks with me.
Wild specific, absolutely.
I have one childhood memory of when I was a kid. This was like one of my best friends. He had one of the weird houses. Like Sarah and I will ever be like, did you ever have a friend who had a weird house or a fun house or this? He had a weird house. I think his dad worked at the mill, so he worked like nights or something. So there was weird sleep schedules. We'd be over there after school and be like, you have to be quiet. But it was always his mom and dad would be in towels. Like they just showered. They were always in towels. And like the mom would look like she just woke up, and it would be like 3 p.m. And I'm a little kid. I'm like, that's not, what are you doing? You're supposed to be up. Like we wake up in the morning. What are you doing? And the dad would come out with a towel. And I just remember being like, this is all very weird. So I agree with closed-minded.
That's weird.
It's weird. Yeah.
It is weird. Kate, did you ever have the weird house, a little too free with the nudity house?
Yes, I did. And I feel like it all stopped when I was like around 8, and like
anytime after 8 was definitely weird for nudity in other kids' houses.
I feel like
hold on, wait. Question, Kate, I'm sorry to interrupt. Sarah, are you saying 8 p.m. or
age years of age?
I thought you were just putting a time. No,
it's fine before 8, before the devil hours.
You're like that uncle.
You're
that uncle who's like, I did it before 8. I'm okay.
Yeah. No, just like it's like the coronavirus restrictions where it's like you can't be at a bar past 10 p.m. like, Dad can't show his dick past 8 o'clock. No, I had parents that were pretty naked when I was a kid. And then, they stopped when I was like still a child. But I feel like I was like very grossed out. And I mean, there was nothing like inappropriate. They were just like, oh, like they're children. We, change in front of we're family or whatever. But it's just that stuff, man. It's just so gross.
It is also very gross. I had a friend. I might have mentioned this before on the podcast, but I had a friend who had a pool. So we would always hang out at his house with a pool. And then his mom got a new boyfriend. And one time we were all over there, like playing video games, watching whatever, and looked out the patio doors, and the boyfriend was just like walking around the pool completely naked, and just had like the honkinest hog, just to this as an adult. It might be bigger. You know how you think things are bigger when you're a kid and in your memory? It might actually be bigger than that. Like it was.
He had a good walking around dick, as they say.
Yeah.
So it's a weird thing because we'll do live wrestling shows back when there was live wrestling shows and stuff, and we would always be in the back. Pro wrestlers are the most I won't let you see my wiener guys on the planet. They're very secretive. They'll like look around, or they always put like the towel over them. Like I feel like if there was a comedy like locker room, which thank God there isn't, because that would have made things a lot worse.
There's way bigger issues with comics showing their dicks to people, and we don't have a situation where they should.
Yeah. But in Punchline, they had the locker room. I feel like comics would be more free to be nude.
Oh my God, there was a. I haven't seen the movie Punchline, but the idea of a comedy locker room is so
oh yeah,
co-ed.
See you by the lockers at the Punchline. Yeah, for sure, it's wild.
That is so gross. I feel like also the comedy locker room. I mean, I'm just like imagining. You're just like in that locker room and you're like, nobody in here has ever exercised. Like, that's why we all got.
Oh, yeah.
That's how we all
shower
came
is
to
bone
comedy
dry.
locker
Or
they change out of a t-shirt. They change out of a t-shirt and hoodie to put on a new t-shirt and hoodie.
That they haven't washed from a couple days ago.
The number of comics that would be hanging out in the locker room, even though they're not on the show, they're just,
they're like cleaning stuff, but not.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I get more gigs hanging out in this locker room than even at the bar.
I do have one more thing about, well, who knows, maybe more than one. Why is it just this one kid? I get the vibe that none of the other family is particularly nude. It appears to just be this one boy's move.
I think this is the alpha, and this dude is running the family. I bet he's Wisconsin. I bet he's a Wisconsin football star. He's probably like, his Letterman's jacket is just covered in patches. This guy's running the show.
Yeah. That is man. The more I think about this family dynamic, the more sad I get, because I think you're right. I think this is like a peacocking situation.
Yes.
And that bums me out that no one's done anything about it. I think at some point, I for sure don't want to tell people they should hit their kids, but if your son is constantly trying to big dick you in front of the rest of the house, you might have to smack him down once just to be safe.
We had this pro wrestler, MJF, who's a real big bad guy. We had his dad on our podcast one time. And he had to finally say, like, dude, you're like a grown-up kid now. Like, you can't come down to eat breakfast in your boxer shorts. Like, things are slipping out and stuff.
That's such an alpha thing,
I'm
realizing.
Like, whoa, yeah. So at some point, you do have to say, like, or there's certain stuff we'll wear around the apartment where we'll be like, I can't wear these outside, right? And it's like, no, you can't wear those outside at all.
Yeah, those are house pants for sure. And you should have somebody that can tell you that, and somebody in this family should be telling this kid to throw on some pants.
But I think that they probably have, and it's probably this like weebly little attempt that's always shot down, and then like this kid probably roasts and toasts everybody so hard that they're afraid of him. Because the neighbor's too scared to ask after dozens of times helping each other out of what sounds like financial straits, which I'm still thinking about. And I just feel like this kid is like, yeah, you can't say anything to him. He's got an answer for everything and a dick to prove it.
Oh, by the way, Dick to Prove It is for sure the name of this podcast.
That's
also
a new wrestler on the indies.
Yeah, Dick to Prove It. Yeah.
My favorite Mighty Mighty Boss Stone song was Dick to Prove It. All right, let's move on to our next letter real quick. Who's up? Let's try. All right, let's give this one a little bit of a... Okay. Dear Abby, I am a 22-year-old man, and I think I found what I want to do with the rest of my life. There's just one thing. It's not a typical male career. I want to work in a beauty salon as a stylist. What's holding me back is I'm afraid people will think I'm gay. I have nothing against gay folks, but I am strictly heterosexual. I have been told that I'm good looking, and the fact that I'm artistic will also be a plus. I think I can make a lot of money in this field. Please advise me how to get over this hurdle. Signed, future hairstylist in New York. Here's my thing with this guy. He's young, he's insecure, but it almost feels like this letter's from the past. Like, I can't, you know what I mean? Like, this feels like something that people 15 years ago were concerned about.
Very, like, 1994 energy to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. This feels very dated and also a little like, had you read this letter back in the day, you might have went, this guy might be gay and he's just closeted or something, you know? And it's that thing, too, of like, and I know I'm just going to drive all the guys crazy. You know, it's like that kind of guy, like, oh, gay men are always just trying to hit on me everywhere. Yeah. It's like, I've gone to the bar with you for 5 years. I've never seen a gay guy come up to you, but yet you're on stage going, oh, gay men can't keep their hands off of me.
It's like, well, how are you doing with, like, anyone? Like, I think a lot of times guys will do this weird thing where it's like, well, gay guys really like me. And it's like, sure, you've been single for a while. That's fine. But another underlying issue is, like, why do you care what these, like, maybe made-up people might possibly one day say about you when you're following your dream? If you're really following your dream, like, that's the reward, and they don't matter.
I had this comedian friend that was always telling me that, like, gay guys really liked him. And then, like, I heard from, like, 3 guys that I knew that he had, like, made out with them. And I was like, wait a minute. This is, like, not happening to you by accident.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also feel a little, like, here's what's weird about this letter to me. If this was future hairstylist in Alabama, I might have a little bit more, and I guess that's just me having my own preconceived notions of where people are. But future hairstylist in New York, like, what world is this, man? Like, also, definitely white. We were gendering the other people.
Oh, yeah.
This is because black hairstylist, that is a very common, like, very heterosexual trait. So this is definitely a very young white guy. And also, do you need your hairstylist to be good looking? I need them to have good hair. But I don't know that I need their hair to be on point if I'm going to go to a hairstylist. I'm going to go with somebody with a fucked up haircut. But he's like, I'm good looking and artistic, so I'll make a good hairstylist.
Do we refer to ourselves as good looking naturally when there's nothing going on questionable?
So I think that this guy's mother, he used to do her hair for her. He had a knack for it, and she's always telling him, "You're so good looking, you're so wonderful with your hair." But you need to know the men are all going to be in love with you, too. So she's protecting her prince. I think these are all just shitty kids whose parents should have been like, you're not as special as you think you are. Put on your clothes, cut hair if you want to cut hair. Stop saying you're good looking. Yeah.
For sure. Also, I am strictly heterosexual.
Yeah.
Has a very, like you said, 96 vibe. Like, and that's a new thing, too. I don't know if you've seen this. I'm on TikTok. Is not the right word. I've never TikToked in my life, but I will spend 4 hours a night scrolling through TikTok videos. Super straight. I keep seeing that now.
Yeah,
people are describing themselves as super straight.
It just anytime you add an adjective that's like, I'm really this way, it's like, okay, good luck with that.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, anytime somebody goes, I'm the straightest dude you know, I'm like, why would you say that? Why would you say you're the straightest dude I know?
Also, I don't know. I mean, yes, sexuality is very much fluid, but I think once you say you're straight, then you're not, there's no straightest. You know what I'm saying? Like, once you're straight, then that's it. There's not degrees at that point. It's black or white.
Especially straight. I'm more straight and I get the rewards for it.
I think this guy makes a lot of proclamations. He makes a lot of proclamations, and you just have to, like, if you're his friend or coworker, you just have to go, okay, dude.
Yeah, for sure. Also, I'm trying to find real quick. Over the past week, some people online have been openly referring to themselves as super straight, causing the term to trend across various social media platforms. The term is meant to refer to a preference of the opposite sex with the exclusion of transgender people. So it's even shittier than what we thought it was. It is literally just a way to then also be hateful. Oh, just the worst. God damn it. Straight people are just fucking terrible. I think there's not a lot of advice to give this kid. We've already given it to him. Go fucking cut hair, man. Or whatever. Like, also, I would recommend go hang out with some gay folks. It's probably going to be a good time. Like, I don't think this person's ever really been around gay people. So.
He's from Buffalo, New York. I think
that's it.
Figured it out.
100%. Oh, absolutely. All right, let's move on to our next letter. Oh, what do you think about this one? Dear Abby, my husband and I recently moved into our first house after 5 years of apartment living. We love our new home and we have just unpacked the last box and settled in. There has been just one bone of contention in our otherwise happy living situation. I have 15 to 20 small to medium-sized stuffed animals that I enjoy having around. My husband insists that they not be visible at all in our home. He says it looks like I haven't grown up and am living in the past. He's embarrassed to have any visitors see them. Excuse me, I'm choking a little bit. Man, sorry. Anyway, Abby, I don't want to display these toys in a living room. They're upstairs in my personal space. Your opinion, please. Signed, Upset in San Antonio.
Another one of those little boys.
I mean, this is not...
Yeah.
So here's this... Kate, what do you think? I'm sorry. I have to gather my thoughts.
So I feel like depends on what she means by her personal space. Like if he means their bedroom and he can't fuck while he looks at their toys, I completely understand. That's creepy. But if she has like a little office or whatever, he should just mind his business and support his wife.
So I'm about to come... All right, I'm torn because I agree with both sides of this in some small way. This woman should be allowed to own things that makes her happy. She'd be allowed to put them wherever the fuck she wants in the house that presumably she pays half the rent on. I totally understand. It's a little weird for adults to have, because here's what I don't believe. When she says 15 to 20 small to medium-sized stuffed animals, it is more than 20 and they're bigger than medium-sized. It is I'm just being real. That is what I...
Oh, yeah.
The one thing that jumped out at me is it's either 12, 13, 14, or 15. Just count them. How many stuffed animals do you have? It's not like I have maybe 1,000 or 2,000. It's like,
right.
No, you either have 12 or 15 stuffed animals.
Sometimes I put one of them under the bed because that's the one that's the least liked. Yeah, this sounds like, and there's a couple I met a while ago that had a safe word that they'd say to each other before they talked about topics that made the other one uncomfortable. And this has that kind of energy. Like, I'd love to be able to just, and I think we do a good job of just kind of being like, hey, I don't like that there because blah, 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 and then see where the conversation goes. Like, but this has a lot of, like, secret energy.
Yeah. Kate, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I guess, sometimes the surface level issue is not actually the issue, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if it's like for the husband, if maybe it's not actually like fully about the stuffed animals, but like maybe, she's not being like mature in other ways or is still like weirdly connected to her family in a not cutting the umbilical cord kind of way. Like it might be something else underneath.
Symptom of something else.
She also has 12 to 15 sex toys under the bed that make him feel very inadequate as well.
She's also
12, 13, or 14.
A furry who is sexually aroused.
I was going to bring up the furry aspect. So here's the thing. This gives either furry vibes or Disney adult vibes. And like those are two sides of a coin. And I have no place... I have several Lego sets displayed around my house, so like I have no place arguing with someone who has childish things that they like. But there is something particularly odd about, like, I don't want to defend my Lego sets, but like it's a puzzle. You did a thing and then you put it up. There's an activity involved. There is something about just having a stuffed animal, which is specifically like a young child's thing. And if they have sentimental value, she doesn't mention that at all. You know what I mean? Like, there could be any number of reasons to keep them. But man, it's kind of a lot.
Here's my theory. Yeah. It's more Disney adult vibe than furry, because a woman like this, in my mind, has been told to keep anything sexual or lascivious very secret and save it for romance novels on the beach when you're 60. I think this is like well, these are my friends, and these were who were there for me when I was little, when no one else was, and I can't handle my husband and being a married, grown-up woman all by myself, so at least they can, like, be there watching, even if I don't talk to them as much as I used to. It's very, like, Disney Channel original movie vibe, where, like, one of them, they'd come to life and be like, you gotta release us to the zoo, you know, whatever.
Oh, my God. Disney adult is such a terrible, terrible phrase. I had a friend who was a Disney adult, and was like specifically really obsessed with The Little Mermaid, and it was weird. Her partner was into it, right? Like, I feel like this guy, he's clearly not into it, but her partner, my friend's partner, would draw like sexualized drawings of her like as Disney princesses, and I feel like the partner being into it is like worse than the partner not being into it.
It's worse for us, for sure.
I mean, it
for
sounds
them,
fun
it's
for
great.
them. Yeah.
For them, it's great, but I don't want to think about it. It's
There's a movie reviewer on YouTube, and her bed is just covered with Star Wars plush stuffed animals. And in my head, I was thinking, like, if I just like met her after a show or something back in the day, went back to her apartment, I saw that, I'd be like, oh, okay.
Interesting.
That's a little interesting.
That's a choice.
We'll still have sex, but could we move the porgs off the bed? Like, that's a little that's a little weird.
The Disney adult thing, again, everything's like levels, right? If you just happen to like, there's ones that like to go to Disneyland. Okay, I've never been. I bet it's fun, like riding roller coasters or whatever. And then there's ones that are like, oh, I like to collect the movies. Whatever, I get collecting things. But when it becomes like your defining, when it becomes your personality to the point where you have to find another weirdo that can only fuck you if he's drawing weird Little Mermaid posters or whatever, like that is where I get uncomfortable. But that's me. That's me projecting my own shit onto them. Like, I've said before, like, it's weirder that he's into it. Nothing makes me happier than when two fucking weirdos find each other. Like, that is a beautiful little puzzle piece. You're the wrong kind of weirdos, guys. You guys, this is an audio medium. They just fist bumped.
For your pleasure only.
There are two very different kind of weirdos. When you see, like, I used to work at a movie theater in upstate New York years and years ago, and we had a couple that came in and saw the movie Norbit 7 times. They paid to see the movie and laughed, threw their head back in laughter all 7 times. God bless those weirdos, man. They found each other in this world. That makes me very happy.
Oh my gosh, that's adorable.
Eddie Murphy should contact them and be like, I sincerely want to thank you guys. He should have gave them a cameo in Coming to America.
Absolutely. All right, let's do what are we doing? Oh, we got time. Let's do another couple of these letters here. Oh, yeah, this guy makes me mad. Dear Abby, my husband and I live in a 55-plus retirement community. We do many things together, but we also do things independently. One resident decided to form 2 men's clubs. One meets every week for breakfast, and the other meet twice a month at night. The members go to each other's home for the evening meetings. The man who started these clubs is chauvinistic. He made a rule that women are not allowed in their own homes when their husband hosts a meeting.
Ooh.
Quote unquote, no skirts allowed. Therefore, even though the wife prepares everything for her husband's meeting, she's told to slip out of the house before anyone arrives. Slip out. My husband agrees this is ridiculous and is considering quitting the club, but he has formed friendships with some of the men. The guys are bamboozled by the leader and tells their wives that anything said at that meeting is confidential. The obvious solution would be to meet at a coffee shop, but the man in charge says the homes provide a more intimate setting. My husband feels bad about it, and I don't want him to quit a group he enjoys. Any suggestions? Signed, Good Little Vegas Wife.
Wow.
Wow.
I feel like, well, first of all, it's it's cool and open minded of her that she doesn't want her husband to quit the sex club. You know,
the intimate setting needed sex club. Absolutely.
I don't know that I could be so supportive, but it's really great that she can. But I mean, this is like, to me, like on the surface, it seems like it's a complicated situation, but on like, you know, on another level, like this is just a basic boundary question where like the husband needs to just be like, I'm not willing to do that. And then, you know, just the guy, the weirdo male leader can react however he wants. Like he can say, you're not welcome at the club. He can say whatever, but it's not like the husband doesn't, he's being codependent. He's like anticipating other people's needs and tiptoeing and walking on eggshells.
Yeah, for sure.
So my dad is in a retirement community, and he gives me the scoop all the time. And I used to test old people's hearing, so I'd always hear about their retirement community stuff. It's high school. It's so high school. So this guy, I know like how this will go. Like the alpha dude who is like the grown-up version of the little boy who would not wear his clothes in the story one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think this guy is like running the show, and his wife probably is too. They're probably like the king and queen of the retirement community.
She doesn't have to leave. She's hiding.
Yeah, and it's a tough spot too for these people because like my dad has gotten way more with the times and stuff. But I do imagine that there's some old guys who are just like, I'm not buying any of that bullshit. Like, this is who I am. So you do have to make that choice of like, oh man, like I can't have my wife like being mad at me, or I don't even want to kick her out of her own home. Like she can go in the other room or whatever. But there's all this like inner political dwellings that are all tied up in it. So it's everybody all hates each other so much, and they should just split it up like Democrats and Republicans, and half the retirement community can hang and the other half can hang.
I just tried to picture telling my fiance that I'm having some friends over and she needs to make us a bunch of food and then leave. I'm just imagining it and then slip out.
That's crazy.
The thought, and like, this is obviously, I wonder if this is something that is going to change in retirement communities as all our new generations become older, right? I think the dynamics will very much stay the same in that anytime you get that many people living amongst each other, only socializing amongst each other, you're going to get politics and drama and cliques and things of that nature. But I would hope that as I get older, like this sounds like a product of an old generation. The idea that you can make your wife leave her house, I'm the head of the household, that kind of horseshit. I would hope that if I end up in a retirement community, that I don't have those you know what I mean? Like that our generation will be better than them at that. I would hope. I don't know.
I would actually. We'll have a lot. Oh, go ahead, Kate.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
It's the whole Zoom thing. Go ahead.
Yeah. No. Yeah, just edit out all the, but
not doing any of that. Way too much work.
So I am, I'm a pretty modern woman, and I actually hope that my life in a retirement community is a lot like this dude's, like I'm just gonna like be there with my husband and be like, make us a bunch of food and then get the fuck out of here. I'm hanging with my girls. I want that life. Yeah.
This is if anybody knows anybody who writes for Jimmy Kimmel currently, you guys can use this idea. The husband will have his phone out ready to record, and he's going to go up to his wife and go, hey, I'm going to have all my buddies over on Saturday night, and you need to cook us a bunch of food, and I need you to get the fuck out of the house.
Just get the reaction. Yeah, this is like telling kids you took all the Halloween candy. Exactly. I want to talk about this leader for a second, because like, the way she says the men are bamboozled by this man, what level of like, you know what I mean? Like
when you said that, I think it's season 4 of Eastbound and Down when Kenny Powers is living in the suburbs and he's like bossing all these guys around. That's what it seems like. There's a Kenny Powers. I bet I made so much money back in the 80s and I had a new car.
Wrestler.
I had a new car every year and, just like bang my secretaries and don't tell your wives because I'll tell mine.
Yeah, can we talk about that for a second, too? This idea that they need a more intimate setting and everything said at that meeting is confidential.
Yeah, because they're all old white men and they want to say stuff that they don't want people to call them on.
He wants them to wear a special hat, like a fez or something. He's
exactly.
like, we need a men's group where men can be men. Men can be men. And I mean, they're all going to just say, like, I stare at the girl's ass at Starbucks. That's all they're saying. They're not doing it.
But they feel rotten about it because they haven't really been living in a, fully clear-headed way this whole time, and maybe that's why they're in a retirement community with a lot of weebly men that can be pushed around instead of being like, hey, you're cool, let's be roommates, let's hire a 24/7 caregiver, like, let's do it the millennial way and retire with our friends.
Can we be honest and let's let this so-called leader know that nothing is said at those meetings is confidential? Every one of those people is going home and telling their wives immediately. Don't tell me secrets. I can't keep a secret from my fiance. Don't do it. Unless it's like real serious. If you come to me on some like real serious shit, but if you come to me with some shit about a girl, I'm blabbing. We're going to have tea. It's going to be beautiful. I love gossip.
I'm never doing that again because I'll tell you what happened to me. I'm someone that used to feel pretty comfortable confiding in my partners. I totally understand because like your partner is your confidant, but I had this one boyfriend that was, he was super gossipy. He loved to gossip, but it was actually one of my favorite things about him because he used to be a journalist and he always had like the best dish, but everything that I told him, he after we broke up, he was so mad at me that he messaged all other people's secrets to my friends. And a lot of it, it was really bad. And like, I told him that I once had sex with someone that we both knew that was like, I told him that this guy had a really small dick. And I felt... it's not something I would have said to anybody except for my boyfriend. And it was only funny in the context of this guy because he had like a very like small dick personality, like super, super arrogant. I'm not trying to dick shame anybody, but like, he messaged like all these like comedians and was like, so-and-so has committed sexual assault. So-and-so is a trust fund kid. And by the way, this guy has a small dick, and I think that it was just like funny that he's like, comedy is so corrupt. And I thought it was like funny that in his mind, like this guy having a super small dick was like a sign of like comedy being corrupt.
Like, hey, what did I do?
I would very much like to throw in that one of those things is not like the other.
Yeah.
You mentioned sex assault and then having a
money
trust fund
launderer,
and a
vaccine stealer, and Steve's got a little dick.
Come on, lay off me, man.
Yeah.
I'm trying my best.
That poor son of a bitch.
Yeah, but so I never like, if it's a secret, I just keep it to myself at this point.
Chris and I would kick him out of our club. He would be kicked out for that.
He wouldn't be allowed to wear the hat anymore. And I wouldn't hear about it because Marty keeps the secrets and I slip out after making the charcuterie. Slip out is so funny where it's like you can't even say bye.
You
Gently, don't let him hear the door, Wanda.
Yeah, she's like
you gotta
grabbing
go
her
out the back
keys.
window.
It's like those old like 80s sitcoms where the dad's like late for work and he's kissing the wife like gotta go, and he's like grabbing his briefcase like that's her like timer's ticking. You better get out.
Better get out of here.
All right. I think we got time for maybe two more. We'll wrap this up here in a second. These get weird. Dear Abby, my son is a police officer in the same town where I work, population 6,000. Over the last 5 years, I have been confronted by coworkers who have been cited by him. I have tried many responses, but the hits keep coming. I have told them that when he does his job, it has nothing to do with me. I've tried reminding them that he has a boss they can file a complaint with. I've tried joking, and I've gotten upset. Last week, things got worse. My supervisor was pulled over by another officer from the same department. She was cited for multiple infractions and her vehicle was towed. She proceeded to call me at home and tell me to deliver a message to my son that all the officers in that department are ampersand, !, exclamation point, ampersand, !, exclamation point. I'm assuming assholes. I don't know what she meant. Of all people, she knows how hard it is for me to, how hard this has been for me, Abby. I was shocked. I have to work with this woman in the same classroom every day. Yes, she's a teacher. Please tell me how to handle this. Signed, Trapped in Northern California. ACAB, so fuck cops. But
Yeah, exactly. The way to handle this is to cut off her piece of shit cop son and just be like, I don't talk to him anymore. He's out of the family.
The fact that this is a relatively small town of 6,000 people, I just get super like Boss Hogg, Dukes of Hazzard vibes from this dickhead cop son. Why? Like, nobody seems to be complaining that like, oh, my kid crashed his car and they wrote him a ticket. They could have let him go. It seems to just be like, you got a speeding ticket or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm torn because yes, I don't like cops, but also I don't like anybody in this fucking town either. Like, leave this woman alone.
It's so funny that you both brought up ACAB because one of our favorite, this is like an apartment bit that we do.
Bit.
I walk around like I'm an old cop who all I ever did was just I'm a crosswalker in Chicago. Mm-hmm. I just walk people and I just go, I'm a bastard.
I'm
a bastard.
And Timmy was all, and I always
Chris, I used to walk you across the street when you're a little boy. I'm a bastard now. Yeah, I was wondering though. Like at first, I'm thinking like my hometown in Indiana. I'm like, okay, how would that be? And I'm like, yeah, that's just like. Okay, but then I started thinking, like, what if this guy's a monster and he's just like drunk with power, and everyone's like, your son's a fucking weirdo, man.
I can only assume. I started to say the opposite of that, but now that I think about it, and I also grew up in a small town in New York and know every person I knew who became a cop was also a bully in high school. You know what I mean? They were all problems. So I have no doubt that this person could very well be a piece of shit. And the more I think about it, I can't imagine someone coming to a mom over minor shit. You're calling up your mom and being like, your son's a fucking piece of shit because because your tags were expired. That doesn't read to me. I think this fucking cop is a real goddamn problem.
I think they might be like the family too, because how would this many people know her and know that her son's a cop and stuff?
Well, it's
like
a small town.
Yeah, that's true. I guess everybody knows everybody, but I kind of feel like she's hot shit. Her son's a cool cop, and they kind of and people are like, "Come on, man."
That trapped signature is just denotes such a fuddy-duddy who won't stand up for themselves. Where it's like, if you don't think that you've chosen where you're living, and then that's something that you're putting your energy toward, like, I'm a little bit like, well, then simply leave. Like, if this is so terrible, like, or say something. I don't know. I these wibbly ones are always, I'm like, well, just figure it out. Google it.
Yeah. There are so many, doing this podcast, there are so many of these letters that can be solved by like, just fucking pull up your pants. Like, just sit down. It's literally just like, sit down and have one uncomfortable conversation. And your whole life is fixed. It's so easy. I grew up, like I said, in like small town upstate New York, and obviously those cops were like I got arrested for smoking weed in the mall parking lot, and like they took me, but not like the white kids. Like, it was that kind of town, you know what I mean? So I understand what it's like to be around shitty, like, small town cops who now have some power in the world. So I am concerned that this guy is just a menace in this town. But like Kate said, fucking tell your son to stop being a cop. You want to goddamn go be a firefighter or a garbage man. They make the same money. You get the same pension.
Hey, your son didn't pick up all my garbage yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, that is true.
I saw in like December, there's this neighborhood in Brooklyn that has well, no, maybe it's either in Queens or Brooklyn. I can't remember, but it basically has all these Christmas lights. All the houses get decorated. It's called Diker Heights, and I went there to, just walk around outside, look at the Christmas stuff, because there's very few things to do in quarantine. So I just got into some basic ass mom shit, and there was like cops there, and they were just like, doing like super like macho cop shit, like, hey, everybody, get out of the way, stay on the sidewalk. But like almost all of the people looking at the Christmas lights were between 4 and 8, so it's just like, oh my God, there's never a break from this macho shit.
Oh no, the worst is I don't know whoever's like, I don't know if you've ever worked like a bar gig or service industry gigs, things like that. But like when you have a bouncer or like, there's always somebody that treats that job way like the cop of that bar. You know what I mean? Like it's not that fucking important, my dude. Just take it a step back. I remember I would always work South by, this is Austin, Texas. South by is easy. You pick up a fucking couple weeks of work, you make a bunch of money for a couple weeks or whatever. And there would always be one guy who's never been a bouncer. He's doing the same shit that I'm doing, just picking up a week's work. But he's Patrick Swayze now. He's got to be fucking the cooler.
He's ripping throats.
Ford. No lie, this is not even a joke. There was a guy that got hired on as security when I was working at Clive Bar. And they would have these big South by parties. And first day he shows up, and there was like, I worked for the bar, but he worked for a private security company. So we had like a meeting the first morning of like the bar staff and the security company staff. And he's the first guy there from the staff. 4 flashlights on his belt. 4 flashlights on his belt. Sir, it's an afternoon party.
They're lightsabers.
Yeah. It's a day party. What are you doing? But yeah, so there's cop energy in all fucking offices I've ever worked in.
Yeah, I think that's the energy that comes from people who are just like, I never made it where I wanted to be, so you're gonna suffer with me. And it's like that in every office. Like, there's always like the person who tries, and like if everyone around that person just outfunds them and is super nice and fun, they're always the little weenie that like never gets by. But a lot of people aren't put in check because people are like too polite or too nice, or they think that they should be getting pushed around, and it's like, nah, just outfun them.
You know what we don't have in comedy and they have in police? Like, a lot of cops are like, well, I don't want to go to the military. That seems scary. I'll be a cop, right? And it's like, so they kind of fail down to be cops for some people. And it's like, in comedy, it'd be cool if bad comics they just became the bouncers at the comedy club. And because they've been up there and they know, and some of them are a little more aggressive. And it's like, hey, man, you didn't make it, but like, don't be mad. Like, you have
a job. You have a place in the community. You can be as wild as you want. You have the power now.
R.I.P. Cap City Comedy Club, although it is coming back, so God bless that. There was a bouncer at Cap City here in Austin named John. I'm not hiding. He knows who the fuck he is. But he was the wildest, like, we used to call him Jack Bauer because he was just, like, super serious all the time, spying and shit. And one time I was featuring for Al Madrigal, and somebody accidentally let off pepper spray in the back of the room. They were, like, fishing in their purse, and all of a sudden this big cloud of pepper spray goes off. So everybody starts choking and running for the exits, and I'm in the back, right, watching Al, and I see fucking Jack Bauer. He looks up, he sees the cloud, and he's like, this is my moment. And he goes running into this cloud of pepper spray and just immediately starts choking. Has to like turn around and run back. Oh, it was my favorite.
What was the plan to get in there and like defuse the bomb? Like, dude, there's nothing you can do at that point.
I wish you would have said, and then instantly he pissed his pants. He shit his pants with fear.
Didn't put a napkin over his nose, nothing. Just took a deep breath and ran in. We got one for one more letter, and then we'll wrap this up. Dear Abby, I've been dating Leon for a few months. He is smart, cute, ambitious, caring, a great kisser, and has a fantastic sense of humor. The problem? He gives a new meaning to the phrase, got milk.
What?
Yep, you're not going to see where this is going. Leon... Oh, no, go ahead, Kate. What you got for me?
I thought she was going to say...
What do you think this letter's going to be about?
I thought she was going to say it a really small dick. Yeah, I was just already on that train in my mind. Yeah.
No. Leon still has the remains of the first gallon of milk he ever purchased when he moved into his apartment.
Ew.
He had overestimated the amount of milk he would consume, and before he knew it, had a gallon in his fridge that was 3 weeks past his expiration date. Time passed, and still it remained there. Soon it was 6 months old and a novelty. Leon has kept this container of milk through 2 roommates, 3 girlfriends, 7 jobs, and 2 refrigerators. It will soon be 5 years. He seems to have formed some sort of sentimental attachment to it. Can it still be classified as milk? Leon is entertained by the reaction he gets when people hear about it, and even has a blog about it with a picture. If our relationship is to get serious, I see a me or the milk ultimatum in our future. Is it asking too much for him to leave his life of keeping expired dairy? Or should I cut my losses and seek a dairy-free bachelor? Or should I just accept it as a souvenir or a pet? Signed, lactose intolerant in Oregon. Oregon. I don't know why I said it like that.
You know, I thought this was going to be about cum, and I kind of wish it was.
This took such a boring, gross roommate turn.
It's so weird.
Ugh.
This is just like I lived with dudes for my whole adult life, and this is just like the one shit that you end up throwing out for this guy. This guy never had a roommate.
I almost threw out one of your roommate's towels back in the day because it had mildew on it, and I was like, any girl who comes over doesn't deserve to be with someone who wiped down with a mildew towel,
But
and I wasn't brave enough, but now I am, and I should have done it.
There would just be those days where I would be like, I'm going to just throw everything that's like questionably gross out of here. I'm sorry. That's just the deal. So this guy either got to a certain point where the fact that he's like, he thinks it's cool that people
He's
are
owning up.
that they're like,
where it
wow,
gets
Leon,
weird.
cool.
That's where it's so much different to me than just gross roommate. Like it's not that he just doesn't clean out his fridge, and he would probably like if she just went in there and threw the shit away. that guy is like, awesome, please, thank you. I didn't want to do it. I'm lazy.
Yeah.
This guy would be mad if she threw that away.
Yeah, well,
you know what I'm saying?
It
It's his
lasted multiple
Two
refrigerators.
It was in a van getting driven to a new place. Like,
Yeah. He's moved.
Ew.
He told the movers, be careful with that one box.
it might kill you.
It's my milk.
It's the first milk I ever bought as a big boy. Like, come on, get over it. Write a book.
Get some
kinda
stuffed
wanna-
animals. That is a healthier hobby.
Here's the thing that also makes me sad about this is his blog. You know that he like has like 3 half-started, like, well, half is too strong of a word, like quarter-started screenplays about the relationship. That like this milk, it's me or the milk, and
His Patreon
girl.
has one patron, and
It's
it's
his
just it's his
brother-in-law.
brother-in-law.
No, it's brother-in-law who's like, you shouldn't be paying for this.
The
Yeah.
milk might get its OnlyFans. I don't know.
Thinking about it, we got its own talk.
I think you should leave him. That's not true.
Yeah.
Don't leave him right
No,
away.
I agree with you because I
You
think
say
this
leave him
is
right
like,
away? Okay.
They have fundamental differences in what they feel is acceptable, like step it up behavior, and it's like, if he's gonna battle on this mountain, then she should go climb another one, baby.
So here's my thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kate.
I just think this is one of the things where, like, the gun in the first act just always goes off in the third. You know, like Zach was saying, like, this guy, there's going to be, you know, let's say they stay together. There's going to be some type of like hoarding issue or some type of thing where he is like being really gross about something else and unhygienic. And like, you know, like I just dated somebody that was, you know, I mean, he's a great guy, but like he likes to fight a lot on the internet, and it caused us a lot of suffering. And I was like, okay, well, you know, I can't really be too mad about this because I met this man fighting with him on the internet. You know, so, you have to be like, you have to see the whole person that you're dealing with and think to yourself, okay, if this never changes, can I accept it the way it is? I don't mean like, can I accept it without low-level irritation? Can I have my little problems with it here and there? But like, if there's something that you just absolutely cannot live with, then you have to just find a different partner.
Absolutely. But here's where I have it's not hope for Leon, but I want to give him an out or an option. She at no point here says there's any other grossness in this apartment, right? I would imagine if this was a guy who's like got this gallon of milk, but also the whole, like, you never clean his dishes,
But
toilets
it's
a
not
mess.
going to be spotless.
I'm not saying it's going to be spotless, but I do think she would bring it up if it's a
Yeah.
if it's like a gross apartment.
Yeah,
it
I
comes
agree.
up in this letter, and I don't think she's brought the milk situation up to Leon.
No.
At no point does she say,
No.
I've approached him and asked him to
You
throw
know,
away this
that's
milk,
great.
and he
She's
hasn't.
really nice.
He hasn't done it, right?
Do you think this milk is like who he is? Is this like a big part of his personality? Like, does he think? this is what's going to make him famous, or he thinks this is like, to me, Leon seems like a sitcom character from like a one-off, like our main character is going to go on a date with him, like Elaine on Seinfeld or something. And he's like, I'm the milk guy. Like I have a blog and everything. And then when it's not the milk, Leon's going to think of what else can I do? I'll be the guy who eats the most Dunkin' Donuts in a year. Something like that. Like it's always going to be a thing.
A gimmick. He needs a gimmick.
He needs a gimmick. He definitely this is a guy who needs a gimmick.
He needs a hobby.
Yeah.
But I think there's hope for Leon. I think if she goes, hey, Leon, can you throw that? Like, she has not, from what I can tell from this letter, she has made no effort to ask him to get rid of this milk. Mm-hmm. This isn't a thing where she's like, hey, can you get rid of the milk? And he's like, well, it's kind of my thing. I got this blog. Like, that hasn't come up, right? So if she goes to him and says, hey, man, can you get rid of the milk? And he just goes, oh, yeah, fuck, of course. I'm sorry. It's this dumb thing I've been doing for 5 years and, like, didn't think about it. But, yeah, I'll throw out the fucking milk.
Yeah,
Suck my dick. I will gladly throw out the milk for you. But, like, you got to give him that option. You met him as the milk guy. You've been through, you know what I'm saying? So give him the chance.
He's been with the milk longer than her, by far.
That's so true.
You're right, though. Like, I think that if you're in a relationship with someone and you really like them and there is like a change that you need, that you should express it and articulate it 2 times. I think you should say, once how you're feeling about it. And then if it doesn't change, you can follow up in a couple weeks and be like, I really meant that. And then after that, it's either you live with it or you end the relationship, but like twice,
exactly.
Yeah.
I have a question for Marty.
Yeah.
If this were us and you were the milk guy.
Yeah. If I'm Leon.
If you're Leon, would you find it fun or condescending if I was like, hey, that thing with the milk, don't you think it's time we gave that milk a fun funeral and kind of, had a little celebration on its way out?
Leon would feel attacked. I think that I'm shocked that I haven't heard one of my female comedian friends tell a joke about like actually dating Leon and be like, I actually dated this guy. This is so crazy, but he had his first gallon of milk ever in his refrigerator.
I don't know that we also have really given like due to how long he's had this milk.
Yeah.
It's like 5 years.
Yeah. I think Chris, I think he thinks it's hilarious.
That's the problem.
It's not even cool. It's hilarious.
He thinks it's hilarious.
It's the one thing he's committed to his whole life.
He's talked a lot about doing stand-up. All his friends tell him to give it a try.
I promise.
Really thought about it. Yeah. For sure. Leon, my advice for you is fucking, obviously you got to get rid of the milk and like get a new hobby. And Leon's girlfriend, give him a chance to get rid of the milk.
Yeah.
Maybe he just needs somebody to kick him in the butt.
And then give him a chance to slip the milk out when you're not looking.
Or Leon, just fucking ride this out, and when you're like 100 years old, you'll be on like whatever the Pawn Stars is of that time, and you'll be famous for 5 seconds, and you'll just get your dream come true. Don't give up on your dreams, Leon.
About you. 10 years, yeah, for sure. Oh, I'm gonna make a note of that because what if in like 10 years there's a fucking BuzzFeed article about how like
meet Leon,
the man who gassed his apartment.
It's time to have a conversation about Leon and guys like Leon.
Oh no, we're canceling Leon. Oh shit. Poor son of a bitch. Guys, this has been a blast. Let's start with you guys because I'm looking in your faces. Marty, Sarah, how can the people find you on the internet? What would you like to plug? All that good stuff.
At Marty Sarah Pod on Twitter. Our podcast, Marty and Sarah Love Wrestling, is every Friday on the MLW Radio Network.
Or wherever you find podcasts.
Or wherever you
We just talk silly about wrestling. It's like a silly wrestling show.
I listen to every episode. By the way, I want to say that I'm enjoying the Patreon episodes of Back to the Temple. They're very good. Definitely check those out. Kate, how about you? Where can people find you? What do you got going on?
I have a new audiobook out on Audible called Dirtbag Anthropology, and it is free with a new Audible subscription on Audible Plus. So yeah, check it out there. I also have a podcast called Reply Guys, which is a leftist feminist comedy podcast, and Chris has been on. Little Pearl, my little cat, comes on each week, which is very annoying, honestly. But yeah, those are the 2 main places that you can find me, except for on Twitter. I'm not Not fighting on there anymore. Just regular posting.
Perfect. I am at Chris Cubis on all social media. If you like the show, give us a little 5-star review and a rating. We really appreciate it. Tell your friends. We appreciate that as well. If you live in Austin, Texas, and you or somebody you know could use a free meal, go to redbeansaustin.com. My fiance and I make free red beans and rice with cornbread and snacks and all kinds of stuff. Sign up on Tuesday. We deliver meals every Sunday. And we'll be back next week with more bad advice.